What's up, guys? Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. If you've never been here before and you found me on a search engine, I'm Helen. I'm 45 years old and I'm pregnant. What the heck is this channel about? It's about me living my life, different stages of my life. If you go back a few videos in the Casa Kerins playlist, you'll see bought a house, did a lot of DIY in my house. A few years ago, had the Frugal Mom series on Wednesday nights, thinking of bringing it back. That was me getting out of debt. Again, just my life is what I put on this channel. And if you're interested in that kind of content, hit subscribe, hit like, share, comment, do all those wonderful things, and keep coming back. Okay, so I am currently in Myomectomy. We are trying to organize our files. I don't know if you could see. Where are they at? Boom, my files. Trying to get my files organized. My crib is super full of stuff. I've got baby clothes behind me that I've sorted out. I got more to sort out over here. I got more in front of me. We have had an overabundance of blessings and gifts, and a huge thank you to everyone who has been gifting us things and just bringing either food to the house or bags of baby clothes or baby gear and just blessing us. Like, thank you so much. Really, official thank yous will be going out at the end of the month, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. So this is not the video that was supposed to come out today. Okay? Usually when I vlog, I will record 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks, in the past, and then I'll take my time editing and then I'll upload. So sometimes when you're watching a video, you're actually seeing it 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. This video, today is January 12th, 2024. You are watching this video on January 13th, meaning 24 hours later. Like what I'm about to share with you, if you read the thumbnail, literally just happened. And like it hit me and I laughed about it, but when I came home and I took a nap and I woke up from my nap, a part of me got pissed off. And I had to kind of I just had to put it on camera and I had to share it. So let's go back in time. For those of you that have been following this journey, you know that I did not know I was pregnant when I did not know. I found out that I was pregnant when I was almost 8 weeks. So like almost 2 months, and I was like 7 weeks, cusp 8 weeks, whatever. I was further along. I just did not know. And the reason why I did not know is because, like I said, I'm 45. And at the start of 2023, I thought that I was beginning perimenopausal stage. What does that mean? Perimenopause is like the stage that starts leading you into menopause. You start feeling certain kind of way. You start gaining certain kind of weight. Your periods don't come as regular as they should, right? So I'm like, okay, the time has come. Okay, menopause, knocking on my door, okay? So when I went for my annual, I told my doctor, and she goes, okay, I mean, you are 44. Let's start tracking your cycles to make sure, that we know exactly when you're having your cycle and when you're not. And in a year, we can better assess whether you are going into menopause. And if you've known me for a while and you saw my infertility video from way back in the day, you would have known that when I was trying to get pregnant with my first child, co-host, I couldn't get pregnant. And we were going to start fertility treatments. And it was basically because at age 30, I think I was 37. At age 37, my body was showing signs of menopause. Okay. So it's a whole other testimony. Go watch the video. Maybe I'll recap that video in the future, but just giving you a little bit of history. So I was like, okay, I'm going into menopause. So I'm trying my best to track, and I have it all in my calendar. And, whenever it was like not, in a timely fashion, like 28 days, 26 days, I'm just like, menopause, whatever. So now we fast forward, blah, 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 blah. We find out we're pregnant in June. And I was like, okay. I go to my first ultrasound, and I don't know, I just kept telling like the doctor, I'm like, I don't feel like I am 7 or 8 weeks. I feel like I'm further along. They were like, well, when was your last missed period? That's how we calculate it. And I was like, well, according to my calendar, it was May 1st, right? Okay, so we're going to use that date. Use that date. I said, but it doesn't feel right, right? And so, I'm the type of person, I'm like really in tune with my body. I try to always internalize, like, how do I feel when I'm happy? Like, how do I physically feel? How do I physically feel when I get my period? How do I physically feel when I'm about to get a cold? Like the cold example. When I'm about to get a cold, literally one of my nostrils, maybe this one, maybe that one, but one, not both, one starts to feel a certain kind of way. And when I get that feeling, I'm like, oh, there's a cold trying to brew inside of me. There's germs. And I up my zinc, I up my vitamin C and all those good things. And then it kind of just, it cuts it at bay. And I've been doing that for years. And that's because I know how my body feels when it is about to get sick, right? So I want to encourage you to be in tune with your body if you can. So, whatever. Now, the issue with that I was having at the beginning of my pregnancy was that my doctor, my gynecologist, was on leave. Okay, so I could not see her for my first appointment. I could not see her for like, gosh, I wasn't able to see her until I think October. And I found out I was pregnant in June. So I had to wait a while. So I was literally just going to any provider in the group. The first provider that I saw, God bless her heart, she was a physician's assistant. She did the best that she could, but it was a debacle. That first appointment, just hot mess. Okay, then I go to my next appointment. I didn't have not missed not one perinatal appointment. Have not missed one. So now I gotta go to the next one, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna go to this office because I'm gonna go wherever my schedule allows me to go. If you have an evening appointment and that evening appointment is close to my job, then I'll go to that office. If there's a afternoon appointment and I can make it into my hometown, I'll go to that office. It was that crazy because I did not want to take any days off, right, for work. So I saw a total of, including my doctor toward the end, a total of 4 providers. 4, which is a hot mess. But I was like, this is just what I have to do. And so I'm now seeing provider number 2. And she's a young girl, new to the group. I've been a patient of that group like 9 years at this point. She's new to the group, giving her a chance. And she was just very, like, a very dry type of doctor, very like, I'm not gonna smile, this is science, this is professional, this is medicine, I'm gonna give you the facts, you're gonna take it, and you're gonna walk out the door, pay your copay, and leave. Whatever. So I was like, I don't I don't feel like I am the week that you're telling me that I am. And I don't think she liked that I questioned her. And she was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't think that I'm 12 weeks. Like at this point, I was like 12 weeks or something. I was like, I think I'm 13 weeks, maybe 14 weeks. And she's like, let me look at your chart. Real dry. She's looking at the chart. Well, no, the first ultrasound confirmed that it is in line with your last missed period. Blah, 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 blah. I know my body. Whatever, I left it. Now, I have another appointment. I have to see another provider. Again, he's new to the practice, whatever. His hours coincided with my hours. I went to see him as well. So I'm bouncing back between providers. One of the issues, aside from being off with my due date, is that when I finally did get to see my doctor, when she came back from leave, she was like, did you get your diabetes test yet? And I'm like, no, that's what I was going to ask you today. Like, shouldn't I have had it by now? Mind you, I'm like 27, almost 20 weeks pregnant. She was like, yeah. So immediately she was like, do you have an hour? And I'm like, yeah, I do. She was like, we're doing it right now. And now my doctor, she's moving and shaking because that's the kind of woman she is. Moving and shaking. She was like telling the nurse, let's get her the diabetes drink. She's going to be here for an hour. Make sure you set the timer. Let's get her the Rogam shot. Let's do this. Let's do that. We got blah, 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 blah. And the reason why she's doing that is because the other 3 providers were not keeping up with me the way that they should have been keeping up with me. Whatever. So we get the diabetes test done, we get the Rogam shot done, we're getting the Tdap done, we're getting cold and flu shots, vaccine, we're getting it all done. Okay, I don't know where I left off, but my husband being silly. Okay, so now my doctor's trying to get everything in line, and because I'm high risk, I'm also being seen by specialists, right? So I went to see my specialist in November. And they did the scans, whatever, the anatomy scans and the whatnots. And the doctor, he walks in and he's like, when is your due date? I said, February 5th. And he's like, are you sure? And I said, well, according to my last missed period, yes. However, physically, mentally, emotionally, I said, I think I'm further along, about a week, maybe 2 weeks. He goes, yeah. He goes, the baby's measuring a lot larger than what she should be measuring for where she's at. So he's like, okay, well, we'll wait to see what the diabetes test says, because quite possibly it's that she's, you've got gestational diabetes. Long story short, I didn't have gestational diabetes. Baby's as big as hell, okay? So now we're going to our appointment. I go to my second appointment with the perinatal associates. So they're the specialists. Again, they're measuring the baby. And they're like, she's really large. I'm seeing my rug and I think there is a pee stain. I'll be so pissed off if my dog, I don't think it's a pee stain. Whatever. So they're like, they finish the scan, because that's another thing. We couldn't do the full anatomy scan in one appointment because baby just would not allow it. She's my daughter. So she's like, oh, the baby's measuring a lot larger. And at this point, they had received the test results. No gestational diabetes. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So now, mind you, we go in today, okay? And before I go into the appointment today, I was like, oh, I'm 36 weeks pregnant. Let me take a picture, because I like to compare just not like week by week by week. I didn't do that. But at least I wanted to see how I compared to when I was pregnant with my daughter, 36 weeks, when I was pregnant with my son, 36, 37 weeks, and now with this baby, 36 weeks. And when I look at the pictures, and I'll insert the pics here, oh my God. Whoa. Wow. This belly is just gargantuous, huge. So I'm like, all right, I shared the picture with my family. They were like, oh my gosh, the baby's so big, blah, 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 blah. So now we get to the 12th. We get to today. I go to my final appointment with my specialist. They whip out the ultrasound. And when they're doing the ultrasound and they're measuring like the head and the femur and the whatevers, she starts measuring the head and like she's like broadening, the span that opens up like the circle to measure the size of the head. And as she's doing that, the numbers on the bottom of the screen, they're changing, right? And they're calculating. And one of the calculations is like the gestational age. And when she measured the head, the gestational age was 39 weeks and like 2 days. I said, my God, that's huge. She's measuring the femur, measuring the legs. And again, as she's measuring and she's pulling the little line, the computer's making the calculations. 38 weeks and 6 days. And I asked her, I said, is this baby measuring at approximately 39 weeks? She said, yeah. And then she asked me, she goes, were your last two babies big? Like, how much did they weigh at birth? I said, they're like roughly 9-pounders. My daughter was like really high 8, like almost 9 pounds. My son was like 9.5 pounds. And she was like, well, this baby, she's beat both of them. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, there is a margin of error, but she's coming in at 11 pounds. 11 pounds, almost 12. And I said, oh my God, what is happening? So she goes, I'm going to leave this open because I'm sure, sometimes the doctors want to come in and scan for themselves and, make the determination themselves, but just stay here and I'll talk to the doctor. Well, she was like, okay, the doctor, he doesn't have to do the scan. He feels the scans were done well. So you can clean yourself up, blah, blah, blah. So I went to the bathroom. And like, oh, Miss Kerins, can you step into the office to speak with the doctor? Yeah. So I stepped in and he goes to me, he asks me again. This is the first doctor I visited the specialist 3 times. I saw him, then I saw his associate, and then today spoke with him, the original. And he looks at me, he's like squinting his eyes and he's like, what's your due date? And I said, February 5th. He goes, who calculated that for you? I said, we based it off of my last menstrual period. And I calculated it, and so did the doctors. I calculated it as February 4th. They calculated it as February 5th. And then he goes, did you have a first trimester ultrasound? I said, yes, I did. He goes, were the measurements of that ultrasound in line with the weeks based off of your last menstrual period? I said, that's what the doctor told me. Yeah, And he's like, you're further along. He said, you're 12 days further along. It's almost 2 weeks. So I should have had this baby 2 weeks ago. Let's let that sink in for a moment. I should be on week 2 of my recovery right now. And I'm hauling around an adult in my stomach, okay? And I told the doctor, I said, sir, I've been feeling like I have been ahead of the due date. Like I have not been in agreement with what my providers have been telling me about the due date. But, they're doctors. I had to listen to them. I said, but I really feel like I should have had this baby already. And he kind of nodded. And the issue with that with me is that because I had a myomectomy, which is an operation to remove fibroids, mine were so big and there were so many that they could not do it laparoscopically. They actually had to like cut my belly like a C-section and go in like a C-section, clean up my uterus like a C-section. And of course, no baby, just myomectomy, fibroids, and then close me up. So because of that surgery in 2008, I cannot go past 37 weeks. because of what is it? I can't even think right now. Risk of rupture. Risk of rupture. So I thank God that He has kept me intact, that He has given me the strength, but literally I knew something was off. I knew something was off. And those providers that saw me, they're out of the four, because remember, I didn't see my provider, my regular doctor, because she was on leave, and she came like later into the picture, and she's like playing catch up with my files. So the first three providers that I saw, they were all new. They were young, and I I think they were doing the best that they could, but they were not thorough. They were not thorough. They did not listen to my concerns. They did not take into account the issues that I thought I had with regard to why the period was so off, perimenopause. It was just come in, do the appointment, and go. And and I think that their approach led to this mistake. Led to this mistake. So I laughed about it with my sister over the phone. I mean, the baby is cute. The picture that they gave me today, she's chunky. But she's huge. She is, even in the picture, she already looks like a baby. Like not a newborn, like a baby. And I've got about 2 boxes worth of newborn diapers. I'm probably not going to be able to use them now because she's so big. But with regard to my health, God knows all things. And I felt really bad. I felt really bad leaving my job earlier than expected. Just feeling like I was letting my kids down, letting my boss down, letting my school down. And I just physically couldn't do it. And when I think in hindsight, I physically couldn't do it because I was farther along than what my doctors were telling me. And I was just like I should have been out already. And I'm glad I made the decision that I made when I made it, even though like I said, like I felt bad, but it is what it is. In the 2023 recap video that I also released, because I released 2 videos today because I just had to get them all out, was going through each month of 2023 and just recapping like how I was feeling and what was going on. And in April, I could not pinpoint why, but April hit me with like a ton of bricks, can't even speak. Depression, weight gain, bloat, just not feeling right emotionally. Like I went and it was just, April was a really tough month for me, and I just couldn't pinpoint why. And in the video, I talk about that. And now, after meeting with the specialist today and realizing like they miscalculated you by a good 12 days, almost 2 weeks. Now it makes sense. I didn't realize that I was pregnant in April. And my daughter's screaming, I don't know why. Apparently, I had been pregnant since April. So I guess what I was experiencing were, the early stages of like the pregnancy hormone building up and building up in you, and just the cravings and just feeling emotionally unstable. So it is what it is. Today's the 12th. I did ask the specialist, I'm like, would there be any way for me to have the baby today? And um, he's like, I'm gonna call your physician right now and tell her our findings. But he was like, probably not, unless there's an emergency. They're they wouldn't give me a C-section today. But I'm scheduled to have my C-section in 5 days, so on the 17th. So I'm not too far out. So we just pray that these next 5 days, that God continue to give me the strength to lug around this adult that I'm carrying in my womb, and that the surgery would go smoothly, because now we're not taking out an 8-pound baby or even a 9-pound baby. Now we're trying to extract an adult from my womb. I pray to God, gosh, they could just cut through the existing scar line, but there is a strong possibility that I will come out of this surgery with a T. And if you're like, what's a T? That they're going to cut across the bottom and also up to my navel to get her out. So it is what it is. The moral of the story, trust your body, be your strongest advocate, because just because they're doctors doesn't mean they know everything. And apparently, 3 out of 4 medical providers messed up. So, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.